Don't call me.
All right, Mr. Vice Chairman, it's 2 o'clock. We do have a quorum, so we can begin.
Thank you, Susan.
All right. Thank you, Tom. I will call to order the June 15th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We'll do a roll call. We have Morgan,
Present.
Allison,
Present.
Joey,
Here.
Phil, myself, present. Absent is Stephanie, Jason, who should be here momentarily. And that's roll call.
And Scott.
Scott, absent, yes. All right. Number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 3, approval of the meeting agenda. I'll accept a motion when you've had a chance to review.
I motion that we accept the meeting agenda.
Motion by Morgan,
I'll second that.
second by Allison. So moved. Item 4, approval of the past meeting minutes. I know we have one in
I
it.
think this is where I say, my name is misspelled on page 4 under other business
Mhm.
from Mrs. Gelder to Mrs. Van Gelder.
I'll accept a motion with those changes.
Do we need a second? I'll second that.
Actually, a motion first, and then someone can second it.
Okay.
Oh, do I have to motion it?
You can motion
I
it,
motion that my name is changed
along with the minutes
Being
on
as
the
they're
minutes
written.
as they're written.
Yeah, second.
And then I will second that.
Motion by Morgan, second by Allison. Thank you.
All in favor? All in
Tom, do we have any?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So moved. Item number 5. Tom, any public comment?
No, Mr. Vice Chair, we do not have any public comment here today.
All right. With that, we'll move into item number 6, committee reports.
Morgan, are you saying there's no space?
There is a space. It's Van space Gelder.
There is a space.
As shown
Got
on
it.
your screen.
Okay, on committee
Got it.
reports, first up is Hopewell Baseball. And Scott is not here. Thomas, can you?
Yeah, all I have for Hopewell Baseball is they're in the midst of their summer sandlot league, playing out of Bell Memorial Park and utilizing some field space at Legacy. In addition to summer sandlot, All-Stars and travel is also being played right now.
Okay, the next committee report is boys and girls lacrosse. I know, Joey, you're here. Allison, to touch on the, at the very least, the girls' side.
The only thing I can say is Eagle Sticks was curious. We can talk later during field allocation, just making sure that we don't lose space to adult programming and the limiting to practices and programs. But this is stuff we can discuss during field allocation.
Yep, 8A.
I can't hear.
Item 8A.
Mhm.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say overall update though, summer is like off and running. It's going well. The lower ages are doing great, practicing using Legacy and Bell. I'm at both tonight with my girls. So yeah, all's well there. It's good.
NAFL football, I don't have any updates myself. I don't know if Thomas does, but registration's still ongoing and their slate
Registration is closed.
It's closed now? and
Yeah,
they're starting next
NFL
month?
registration is closed, and they'll begin their summer training later next month.
I believe numbers are up in that department as well. I know Matt coaching the teams. They still have 4 at his age group. However, the number on each of those 4 teams is going up quite a bit, number of players.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
hmm
Okay, halftime sports basketball. Jason, do you have any updates from Kim?
I don't. I apologize. I exchanged some texts with Kim late last week, but I didn't get any of the updates on things. I don't know.
I know that the June camps are in progress. This is week 2
Yep.
of halftime sports, concluding week 2 now. Week 1 was at Mill Springs Academy, and now for the rest of the summer, all of halftime sports summer camps will be at Milton Community Church, just with some renovations and different projects going on at Mill Springs. So they had shifted gyms beginning this week.
Thomas, what church was that?
Milton Community Church right next door.
Used to be the
be
Crab
formerly-
Apple First Baptist.
Oh, gotcha.
Next committee report, we have the Mustang swim team and Milton tennis. Morgan, have you had any communication with?
Yeah, so we have a daughter swimming on the team right now, so
Oh.
I'm in good communication. There's a swim meet tonight. It is again home, so I know that there's a lot of issues with parking, and that's just the nature of having a 250 child swim team swimming against other teams of 250 kids, and where do we put all the cars? There have been 2, I'll say, bump and run incidents in the parking lot. So I know parking is definitely an issue. In addition, kind of simultaneously, tennis is out there often, and they're also trying to use the parking lot same time, not necessarily during a swim meet, so that is helpful. But parking is the biggest issue that we have with swimming. Other than that, it's going smoothly. And then Milton tennis, Terry's out there the past week and a half or so, pressure washing all of their stuff, and it looks great. So that's all I know about tennis.
Tom, do we want to address the parking situation? Is there an update from staff, or do we want to include that in other business?
We can talk about it here. We have identified, we identified some areas that we could put the parking outside of the Wood Valley neighborhood. And it was out back behind the facility. In fact, we did all the preparations for it today. We mowed a big swath behind the building, low enough to where cars could, essentially park out there. And the rain we got is, in fact, the parking lot area we mowed is not too bad, but getting to it, there's some of the nice Bermuda that you'd have to drive over, where if it's dry, I don't mind driving over the Bermuda grass, but you will literally put 3-4 inch ruts if you drove over it today. So we went over to Plan B, which used to be Plan A. And we're going to utilize the public street parking for this meet. And we're going to go for it again on their last meet on the last Tuesday.
I think we had a really good conversation.
We did.
And
I'll be having
it's more so about consideration and staying away from the fire hydrants and driveways and maybe the stop signs. But I think we had a good conversation, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was excited to try it.
Carpooling.
What's that?
Maybe encourage carpooling.
Yeah.
Amongst the.
Yeah, they encourage
Swimmers,
that on the home
families.
team side, and then you get the away
Right.
team and.
And you send them the email, but
Right. No, I know.
Well, listen, my daughters did swim team. It's hard
Mhm.
because you have one parent who drove from one place and another parent who drives. So you got 2 cars for one kid or whatever it might be. And so you just have to keep in mind cars are coming in and out of the neighborhood, but that's about it. But yeah, I think we had a good conversation.
we should have more police presence than usual. We've got a PSA that's going to be out there, as well as we'll utilize what we can with on-duty police as well. Of course, they have their zone and things happen. So,
Well, and so just
but we have someone dedicated to the swim meet
right.
for tonight.
And the biggest concern, because Tom and I talked about this, was, well, what about other events, city events for the future? How is that going to affect the neighborhood? And that isn't an issue. So, right.
It is
So
not.
that was the biggest concern was, okay, well, swim team's one thing, it's 3 times a year, but what else? And so, yeah.
Yeah, there was some concern in the neighborhood that if staff is allowing the swim team to overpopulate the parking lot, there's a chance that we would allow rentals to start flowing into other areas, which we would not do.
Right.
It is a rental question. How many vehicles will you have parked along with people? And if it's too many people for the facility or too many vehicles for the parking lot, got to find another place.
Right.
You know, we can't do it at our facility. So that is definitely something that will not be a concern, hopefully moving forward.
Good. Next is arts programming and adult programming. Thomas, I'm going to look to you.
Yeah, no problem. I can talk a little bit about arts here with Matthew's absence. I know there has been a slight decline in participation for some of our arts programming, just referring to dance and Tai Chi and literally art classes. Just this summer, I think it's just that's just what it is, just being out of school, other offerings, other things going on. But we have been able to incorporate some of these programs into our summer day camp at the Milton Community Center. So, that's very fortunate that we have been, they have been invited and are still being able to use and promote their programs. But there has been just a bit of a decline in those programs this summer. And then as far as adult soccer is operating their summer league right now. I think they're a couple weeks in, and they'll go through, I believe, the first couple weeks in August and complete that season. And then Petanque will also have an offering coming this fall for their Tuesday, Thursdays.
We haven't lost any programming in arts, right? Despite the decline in registrations? We haven't lost any program providers?
No. We have not lost any program. Just a little decline this summer, which I think was kind of not necessarily expected, but I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Okay. Summer camps?
I can speak for Camp Joyful Souls. We're completing our second week, as we speak. So as day camp numbers are basically at capacity for both camps, with a couple cancellations and refunds here and there. But as soon as we get those, we're able to invite the next person off the waiting list. So both camps are finding great success, especially our day camp in its first summer. So I think things are going well at both locations.
And also for Joyful Souls for the late July, their field day, all 20 spots have been filled with
Awesome.
NCL volunteers. So we
Awesome.
actually have a wait list for people
I know
who
our
want to volunteer.
Camp Joyful Souls management staff will be reaching out probably to you guys again, as well as
Perfect.
our other volunteer groups to
Awesome.
just pull as many people as we can to and come enjoy
Yeah.
field day, which I think is
It
July
was-
26th, that Wednesday.
Yep, that
right?
Wednesday. Yep.
Perfect.
It's a great day. So it's good.
Yeah, the day camp at the new camp has a wild wait list. This week was 41
Wow.
on the wait list.
Wow.
Yeah, but with just between the building and its size and its capacities and staffing,
And that's all over
It'll
the-
vary each week on how many kids we can take.
That's all over by the pool and
Yeah, but it's going very well. My children have now been in 2 weeks of it, and they want to keep going back. So that's good. It's a good sign.
That's a real good
Great.
sign.
yeah.
When you have a waiting list, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
All right. Item number 7, unfinished business. 7A, green space strategy.
Okay, this one is my item. Emily had come before the board in previous months and kind of briefed, Emily Groth had briefed the group on what we're looking to do, and that's, gets utilization of these passive parks that we've slowly been opening, and there's some more to come down the road eventually. And what are the uses? What are the appropriate uses? And what are the appropriate uses for each park? Because one park might be conducive for one thing, but not another. So there was a survey that was sent out to several of our boards and committees. And we got some responses from this group. So this is kind of a 2-part item. The first part is we'll review kind of the results of the survey, what we got back from the Parks and Rec Board. And if there's anything that the board as a group wants to add to this list, I have it in front of me here. I'll add what is discussed today. And then that will be kind of an official PRAB response as a group. That will go into the decision-making down the road. Part 2, and this is new, as we are we're looking to create potentially like a subcommittee that is going to have 2 individuals from the equestrian committee and 2 individuals from this board and the trails committee and potentially the sustainability committee. And then we'll have meetings with that larger group to help steer staff outside of these public meetings to kind of get things moving and have some input from the various boards as we're moving through the process. So first is, we'll go through the questions and what was responded. I'll just read them out. And then if there's anything that anyone would like to add, we can add it to this list. And then that can just be we can check that box and move on. And then if there are a couple of folks on the board that would like to volunteer to sit in that other group, happy to take it, or it doesn't necessarily need to be motioned or anything. If we can just find a couple people that want to do it that are here, that's great. And we also have 2 not in attendance today. So if committing to something like that, I don't know how often the meetings would be. I don't think it would be, like a weekly thing by any means. Probably once a month. We haven't really built the whole group yet, so we're kind of just moving through the process. And this is next is just finding a couple people that from this board that would be interested. Are there any questions on that before I rip through the survey?
I was just thinking how I became secretary.
And how many do we
The
need?
last
again?
2 years, you missed the January meeting every year.
Stephanie and Scott just volunteered.
My friend, you missed the January meeting the last 2 years. You'd think you'd learn.
That's good. All right. So the first question on your survey was, what defines a passive use or activity? Passive use is defined by what is not active sports programming. Organized activities may be included at some level. Another response, and these are not recorded by who said what, so this is just general. No organized sports activities permitted was another response, and passive use would be leisure activities that involve enjoying the natural environment without disrupting it, leaving it as much of the natural habitat for animals and vegetation undisturbed. That would be what we define as passive use or passive activity. Or anything?
I have a question. Could it be an active sport that is not organized? And I always go back to what came up was the Frisbee golf, right? It's not an organized sport. I guess it technically could be, but if it's just a casual event, outing, it's not organized, it's not a program provider, it's not schedules and the like, is that suitable? I know it's on that gray line, but that's what I'm trying to wrap my mind around as we define what a passive park is. What is that threshold of that's acceptable, but that's not?
I guess, is equipment allowed? Meaning like you have to have those permanent stands, even for Frisbee golf. So I don't know what you call it, structures or something like that. Is that permissible in passive parks?
Yes, technically we are able
Because you've got
to
a bench,
build
I guess.
benches, restrooms.
Sure.
A parking lot is not necessarily vertical, but it's still, infrastructure. The next question on the survey touches specifically on what specific activities could be permissible.
Okay.
Frisbee golf is on that list. 2 responses included Frisbee golf. So we might be able to touch on that there.
Okay, let's do that.
So that is the question. What activities, uses could be permissible at these passive properties? We got trail walking, fishing, hiking, rock climbing, disc golf with a question mark. Non-organized activities such as disc golf should be permissible in one response. And then walking, hiking, picnicking, bird watching, nature observation was another. So it's kind of touched on here already. My opinion, I think we're good.
Yeah, and I would agree. I don't know how that goes.
It might be a decision that needs to go up to council at that point anyway,
Yeah.
if we can't really take time and and work it out. I know there's no specific language in the ballot that said no Frisbee golf.
Right.
So,
Okay.
any other activities? Trail walking, fishing, hiking, rock climbing, disc golf, picnicking, bird watching, and nature observation were what was listed.
Sounds comprehensive.
Could you make the case that disc golf is just hiking with a disc? I mean,
With a frisbee?
it's throw and chase, but yeah.
That one's nuanced.
Huh?
That one's nuanced.
Yeah. No, I
We
think that covers
obviously have
that.
some property that would be really conducive. to-
Right. I mean, you look at the preserve, which I feel like is already very much a hybrid of both passive and active. I mean, the front,
Mhm.
fifth of that property is very active. And then the back, not so much, but it could easily be conducive to that. They all probably couldn't be, but that one
Well,
could be.
if you think about it, we've now got a trail that's open that is essentially you could walk throughout. So you want people walking down the trail and then a Frisbee golfer,
Mm.
just thinking,
Right.
But there is a lot of
the
space that
liability
is
side of things.
unused, that's just
Doesn't
natural.
mean it can't be used somewhere else, though.
Right.
In fact, really, I've never played Frisbee golf, and if anyone in the room has, I know that usually more of a wooded kind of feel is desirable with like kind of an opening to throw it rather than just wide open
Yeah.
pasture, essentially, like a golf course would be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've heard and seen don't make fun of me, but I've seen it on like TV and I've watched it for a few minutes, and it's more of a wooded feel on the TV courses anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
Even
yeah,
though-
but there's still the back half of that property that has not been touched in years, and we have other properties that are probably large enough to be able to make a course.
And if you think, just having gone over at Wills Park and like a lot of those you can't even see
Mhm.
unless you're actively looking for them.
That's right.
Like, I mean, unless you're looking
You
for
can't
them.
see them, that's right.
It's not like they're visible from the road or from somewhere else. It's your,
Okay, so we're good on the activities. The last question was, how can these passive properties provide appropriate programming opportunities? And it's kind of a lot of the same. Organized trail walks, outdoor nature classes, photography, painting, nature lessons, horse education events, city events could be considered. Nature classes, bird watching classes, botany, or plant classes. How can these passive properties provide appropriate programming opportunities?
Comments?
Bad?
I mean, I feel like the only way to take a passive space and have it provide something like that would be to have like a nature center type situation where you could bring in small groups of students where they could learn about, things out there. I don't really see any other programmable, I don't know. Not sure.
I'm putting like nature center to learn about local wildlife and
Yeah, I like small groups, be like an in-school field trip.
Maybe you could find the pack of coyote that's been screaming at night. Have you heard them?
oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. That really concludes the questions from the survey. Do we have any potential volunteers to be part of the stakeholder committee liaisons? Going once?
Don't everyone raise their hands at once. Tom, if you stare at them long enough, someone will speak up. Watch.
We need the Parks and Rec board involved in this.
Can you give us like a minute to just think about it? We'll get back to you.
Yeah,
Great.
for sure. And like I said, we're not asking for a motion on this or anything, so
How often do you foresee this group meeting?
maybe every month,
Okay.
maybe.
Come back to it in unfinished business. All right,
We'll touch
Tom,
on it in other business.
are we good?
I'm good if you're good.
All right. Item 8A, new business, discussion on fall athletic program field allocation.
I'll turn it over to Mr. Rhodes.
Sure.
on this one.
So this is something Tom and I have been discussing. We're going to continue to do in the last couple weeks. As we know, it's mid-June already. Fall is quickly approaching. So I don't see why probably in the next couple weeks we get that meeting on the books to discuss the allocation for the fall season. So obviously all of our youth and adult athletics will be invited and involved in this meeting. That's where we'll determine, who is getting what time slots. Is our youth being affected by any adults? We will be giving the opportunity for everybody to, share their thoughts during this process. I found it has been successful over our spring and fall seasons in the past. Typically, we do find that common ground. So I think early next week, I'll be sending kind of a feeler message out there to all of our program providers and their close partners to be invited to this meeting. See if we can find something, like I said, in the next couple of weeks to get everybody in the same room and really get on the same page and hash out what's going to be the best for the city and the best for our programs. So
Yeah, I would add that bringing in numbers, early. Football worked out pretty well last year with deciding not to take that space. Was it legacy or something?
I was about to touch on kind of the history of how this kind of has
Yeah.
always unfolded, right?
And I think that was a good thing.
It was always a spring issue,
Mhm.
and it was because of baseball and Field One at Bell, right? That's where it all kind of rooted from. We needed to have a meeting and allocate these fields to the appropriate program. It never was really an issue in the fall until last year. We sniffed out maybe there was something going on, and maybe we did need to have it last year. And I think it was just a teams meeting that we met during the day. And football came on the call and just said, "Oh no, we don't need Legacy Park," and it opened up a whole nother field for lacrosse, and it squashed any concerns we had.
Right.
It was fine. I have a feeling with football's numbers being up a little bit, that might change this year. So this time we're gonna take this as seriously as like a spring meeting would be now, to make sure that we're allocating the fields appropriately.
Right.
I know that NAFL has expressed interest in using Field 3 at Legacy Park. I think they were able to kind of push it, off their plate last fall and they will be back at North Park, but that also pushed a lot of our residents over to North Park who we'd like them to stay home as much as they can. So obviously football will be at this meeting as well. So
Is Field 2 the big field, or is that the?
Field 3 is the
little
one is at Legacy Park on the bottom. That has actual
it has the baseball
lines
field
sewn
on
in.
it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's got football and baseball lines sewn in.
I think the issue would be and this is why the earlier the better, is football is planning 3 practices. And, most of the sports have 2. Is all 3 going to be on turf and lit? We could say we have 5 practices a week. I mean, we have to be reasonable to all the sports is the whole point. That's why you have the meeting earlier before anyone goes, well, what about me? And I thought soccer did a good job and football did a good job last year, but yes, anticipating the more numbers, the earlier the meeting for sure. Yeah.
We'll leave this as unfinished
Yeah.
business for the upcoming months, and we'll report back on how things went. And there's no need for a motion on this one either, honestly.
Okay.
Good. All right, 8B, presentation of the Wall of Fame ballot.
All right, I'll take this one. We have the Wall of Fame has been, all the nominations have been gathered, and the ballot has been distributed. It was attached as an attachment on the packet. So I'm asking if we can get them all turned in by our next meeting. We're a little ahead of the game this time. So if we can get everything turned in by July, we should have it ready to go by August. And then that gives us 2.5 months essentially to, get the word out to our the folks that get nominated to the actual wall.
Did anything change?
As far as
Drop off? Did we make adjustments?
we
Yes.
did. Yeah, we changed the ballot, how long you stayed on from
7 to 3.
7 to 3.
Okay.
So we now have people rolling off.
Okay.
There's still 14, I believe, on
Mhm.
this one. And it should remain kind of the same.
Yeah, with
So we
the,
still list them out 1
Right.
through,
I'll have to reread it. Is it 1 is the most or is it 14 is the most? I did it exactly the opposite the year before.
I think the highest number is the number 1 person.
Okay.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
believe so.
total.
But then you'll total them out, and we need the highest scores to be the ones that get in.
and
We could always reverse and
yeah, that's fine. What is the, do you have just estimate of how many folks? Did we get a good number of new people coming in?
We had 7 new come on the ballot this year, and there was a repeat that was nominated, but that person happened to stay on from last year anyways. So a total of 8, but 7 brand new on the ballot this year.
And the other ones rolled off? So there's two.
We had, I think it was just 1 roll off from last year, so we kept.
Oh, I got you.
So we have 14 now with 7 new. So 7 stayed on from last year.
that's a solid number, though.
Yeah.
We had talked at some point standardizing the nomination form such that the write-ups were consistent and
That should have been
there
done.
was a word count on it, of the word limit. That's done, right? That
Mhm.
was done?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some that are a good paragraph, but they're not a novel.
Yeah.
We had a couple novels and a couple of Johnny likes baseball.
Well, that's it. That was always the problem. There was always one of, he did a great job coaching my kid. He was his favorite kid, coach. Okay, awesome. Gave
High fives.
110% as a coach. Awesome. Awesome.
Tom, that attachment, was that via the link or was that an attachment in the email?
The link.
The link. Got it. Okay. Item 8C, discussion of background check protocol for recreation program volunteers.
Yeah, I can jump in here. And then Tom, if I leave anything off. So we have been discussing for, I guess, quite some time now within the department to get one format for background screenings for our coaches and volunteers. Historically, our contracts call for our programs to be doing that on their own, at their own source. I think we're feeling as our department is growing and maturing, it might be a best practice for the city and for the Parks and Recreation Department to have a little more control and vision on our background screenings for our coaches and volunteers. So we have reached out to multiple different sources and platforms, and what we did find is we spoke directly to NCSI, that is the National Center for Safety Initiatives, and they provided what we feel is a good platform to potentially introduce to all of our programs. It would essentially be the city acting as the parent, if you will, of the account, with all of our programs kind of underneath the umbrella. So our program providers would have direct access to everybody that enrolls in their program for these screenings, so they could see everything. And then the city, as the parent, can also see all of those results. So there is no direct timeline for this. There's still a lot of steps to take if this is something we decide to move forward with. But we thought it was best to kind of get the, thoughts and everything from our board members.
Is this a background check with or without fingerprinting?
They do fingerprints, Tom?
No.
No fingerprints.
No, it's not fingerprinting, but it's
Okay.
very in depth.
Mhm.
In fact, the screen in front of you now, we're looking at the advanced package.
Mhm.
So you can see kind of the gist of what it is and what it does right now. It's got a handful of things that our background check with the police department just doesn't have. And it also comes with an annual recheck. So if you have a coach or volunteer that
Uh-huh.
is going to coach again in another year, there's no charge for that second year. They'll automatically recheck that person, and then they're good for another year within the program. So you're not worrying about rechecking people as often. Now, if you have someone that volunteers for only 1 year, they're going to get rechecked, and you might have whoever replaces that person on a team, you'd have to do again. But anybody that sticks around for a second year, there's no charge for a second year of check.
Do you have a idea, is it going to be the head coaches or all coaches? Because a lot of times you have parent volunteers that are on the field. They may or not be an actual coach. Is that,
If they're listed as a coach or an assistant coach, I'd like to have them.
okay.
check.
And is that $16 that I see, is that per screen?
Yeah, we're doing the advanced, so it's 23.
Okay, so 23. Okay.
And that's a very competitive rate, really, if you think about it. I mean, that's
Okay.
not much at all.
I'm
We
glad
looked-
to
we
hear
looked
that
at
the
other- we looked-
fingerprinting, because that was a concern, because right now they've been moving people. So you used to be able to do it at Alpharetta. Now you got to go into Roswell. This sounds better. Would it go through here? Would you have a system set up online where they would come?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we sat through the same training. I'm sure I got it. It's all online. You can set it up in a couple different ways. The program can actually put someone's name and email and send it to them through this portal. So then they automatically hit the list of, dude, hasn't done it yet, right?
Mm.
And then they get sent an email, they log in, they do the check, and then in real time, as things are progressing in the check, the online portal will show you where they're at in the process. I know that other municipalities around us use it, and they're happy with it. I know Hopewell Baseball used it in the past, and from my recollection, they didn't switch because it wasn't a good platform. They switched because they changed their systems, and there was something that was built into the new system they chose, so they used it.
Forgive my
I-
ignorance. Who currently is responsible for checking the background checks? Is it the team or is it the city?
It is the program.
The program, sorry.
The program administers and keeps record.
So
of
if
their
now
own-
it's going through the city essentially, is
Yes.
that accurate? Would it still be the responsibility would still fall on the program
Yes.
to check it? Okay. And then, but the benefit I could see potentially is if you're coaching lacrosse and you're coaching football,
That's it.
you get all of it, right? Okay.
Yep. Somebody can say, "Hey, I coach baseball. I did my screening 4 months ago." The program
So
can email me.
$23 is once a year for that one person who volunteers multiple
Yeah, I believe
times.
NAFL has, like Matt has to do something like this to
Mhm.
coach. For it. Yeah.
You guys
Yeah,
used
so-
to
I'm
do
not
it.
sure what platform.
You
it
guys
Yeah,
just-
so the biggest thing, both from running a program and having to do this, is the simplicity of it, right? So on the lacrosse side of Cambridge, they have to do a concussion, mandatory reporter.
Right.
um,
Yep. Everyone has to
And a
do that. Yep.
background check, and one other thing that we ask all of our coaches to go through.
Yes.
And now if you're just telling them to go, we've got it so it's all in one place right now, so they can kind of knock it out from one. You're asking them to go somewhere else, it just makes it, they're volunteers, right? So we're trying to get them through.
Now, if you
Make it
already-
as simple as possible, because some of those classes, you take the voluntary or
Mandatory. reporter.
mandatory reporter, I mean, that's an hour course that you
I
just got to
know,
sit
I
through
know.
and.
So here's a
the
question. If
concussion
you've already
one.
done it with your school, maybe you're on the governance council or you're a teacher, do you still have to do this as well?
I'm gonna say
Probably.
yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes. I'd like everything on our record.
All right.
So we'd have a parent account. We could actually run our own under ours.
Mm-hmm.
And each program would have access to their own little piece of the tree, essentially. So Eagle Six would have one, or Georgia Rec would have one. And then the parent account can see all of them below, but each individual program can only see their own. And I'd like to have everything in our system recorded where I can see every coach that has and has not completed theirs yet, before the season starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even
It's just,
having gone through
it's a
Fulton
liability thing for the
County.
city at this point.
This is better than fingerprinting.
Yeah, it's better than going through the Fulton County and the fingerprinting and all of
Yeah.
that, but like you can't, once I had that, I had to still cross over and do other ones.
I
It's
know.
like, I've got a lot of background checks in there.
They won't
Doing a
transfer.
lot of
They don't,
volunteering.
they don't transfer over. Everybody wants a different background check or a
Yeah.
different whatever.
What does the timing look like to deploy this?
That's a good question.
And, sorry, go ahead.
All right, timing. We don't have a timeline yet. We wanted to run this through the board. We've already pinged the programs to get their thoughts. And Thomas, can you speak on some of the
Yeah,
responses?
we got mixed feelings. Couple of the programs said, this is great, thanks for finding this. And then we do have our programs that are already using their own software, their own, not their own, but they're abiding by the contract and, well, essentially everybody's abiding by the contract. But they don't, some feel it doesn't make sense to double down on something they're already doing. So yeah, just kind of a mixed bag right now.
Well, if y'all take it over on the city level, what can't they then do away with what they're doing on their own?
That was
100%.
that
That
would
not save them money?
Yes.
that
as a
would be
program?
the
Well, the program would still be on the
Charged for it.
hook.
Got it.
These fees would
Will
be
get
charged to the
passed on. Got it.
program.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question. Where do those fees go?
Got it.
So do you guys need a motion on this one?
I'd love a motion on this one.
I agree.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Could a program decide to defer out?
No.
It's all or nothing.
It's already a requirement in their contract to do background checks. We're
Correct,
just
but like
providing a
if-
standardized platform now.
Cambridge Lacrosse has it all set up in one little spot and it's easy for their volunteers and they would rather opt out of the city one, but we're saying that's not an option.
Right.
I think
Again, for liability purposes.
Sure.
Not that it would be that much, but we probably need to give enough advance notice because you are charging them, right? Like currently we go through
Mhm.
the program through US Lacrosse, you can get them for
Yeah.
free. I
Oh, it is free?
mean, they have to have memberships, which they pay for, but all of the things that we can
The coaches pay for their membership?
pay for their own membership. But after that, they can get the background check for free and the training. And so we would probably absorb this as a program. Some programs that might be a $250 or $300 to get coaches done might be tougher on their budget on some of them. Or at least something they need to plan for.
Which we can talk about the timing.
Yeah.
where, This would be something that I would think may need to go all the way to council.
Mhm.
So, I broached the surface of it with the city manager. He's on board. If I can get you and the programs on board, we'll move forward with how do we formally adopt this. I think it's a contract, which then would have to go forth before council. So,
The timing
probably
TBD.
best case scenario is still
Yeah.
2 months, really. if you think about it. So probably implementing it for winter,
Yeah.
winter/spring realistically. I think pushing it to fall is probably unrealistic.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think it makes a lot of
I'll
sense.
entertain a motion.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for the city staff to continue to pursue universal background checks for all coaches and youth coaches.
Motion by Jason,
I'll second that motion.
second by Allison. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Approved. Item 8D, discussion on outdoor recreation community survey.
Hi, everybody.
Presenting this will be Jen Young.
It's me again. Will you click the link? there, Tom?
Sure.
Thank you. All right, so in the best interest of the residents, I've put together, this is like a super rough draft. I just wanted to have something for you. But to kind of capture the essence of what residents are looking for in outdoor programming in their parks, we've put together like a 7 or 8 question, and that may change, survey to best understand what parks are most utilized. I mean, we know Bell and Legacy are going to be use most for athletics. So I may take those off the list and focus more on passive parks, right? And then also capturing a list of 20 to 25 options of outdoor programming that we can currently do in Milton with very little infrastructure. So if you scroll down, Tom, we can see a whole listing of options. So I would love it if you guys would look at the survey first and give feedback. Maybe we're missing things. You can keep going.
Stop.
Okay. Keep going. And then to best understand, how do people want to recreate outside? Do they want to do it on their own? Would they like the city's help creating meetups, like rucking groups, hiking groups, horseback riding meetups? And yep, here's the list. So these are all options that would require very little infrastructure. A lot of our trouble in our passive parks is restrooms, so youth programming's tough when you have kids. But there's ways around that if we heavily program passive parks, not green spaces, but passive parks, we can get facilities out there if we see value in it, right? So a lot of these are going to be active sports, disc golf, fishing, gardening. Some of them are going to be more passive, like picnicking, hiking. Some of them involve climbing. So again, we can look long range. So some of this is short range. What can I do in the next 1 to 3 years? Some of this might be a plan for how do we fund the next 5 to 10 years. So this will kind of capture a little bit of information for us. Yeah, so this is just like the beginning of what we're doing.
So the one question I have, and I don't know, and I know we've talked about playgrounds. There's the main one at Bell, right? I know when my kids were younger, the ability to go to a passive park and hike and do that, and then have a playground there was always more like, it's more appealing, right? Because there's something there, I think about like the Greenway, you take it over and you get to Fowler Park and there's the big playground there. And so you ride the bikes for a while and then you ride home. There's kind of a destination to it. The ability to do something like that at some of the front of these parks, or a portion of it where there's a playground, there's something I think is more appealing to families without turning off other people who may want to go, right? Families with younger kids, right? Because you can take your bikes and ride somewhere and having a playground there is,
Yeah, a multi-use area.
yeah, just
for
a
sure.
small, it doesn't have to be huge, or a few picnic tables where you can stop and have snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
That
I
doesn't
agree.
have to be, it doesn't have to be big or, an extensive one, but something that the kids want to go do after they're done.
I don't know if it'd be appropriate in a passive park, maybe the preserve. But as you say, playgrounds and kids, what comes to mind is splash pad.
Hmm.
Whether it's down here out here, somewhere, the city could probably use one. I mean, you go downtown Alpharetta, it's a fun place to be and the kids obviously enjoy it. And it creates community. It pulls people together. It's a, common gathering area. So just 2 cents to add to that. Jen, one more question on the intent of this survey is truly to identify activities or programming within passive parks that residents are most interested in. And that will develop both a short-term and a long-term strategy relative to how we would implement.
You got it.
Okay, got it.
It could also, some of these can be implemented in active parks, but we already know those are heavily utilized. So something like archery can move around. It can be in different neighborhoods. It can be in different green spaces, different parks.
Yeah.
If we can move the equipment, we can do it.
Can you email this out to us?
Yeah.
Can we get a copy of that and
You
just
got it.
weigh in when we have time to sit and absorb it?
Would love to.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
How
agree.
will it be disseminated?
Good question. So probably social media. Our hope is to put it on the website, do campaigns throughout the parks, newsletter. Yeah. You guys.
We could help, I was just gonna say, we could help
Yeah.
push it out to our people in
Yeah.
our communities too,
Yeah,
which would
all
probably
of
be helpful.
the programs, the email listservs that we have for our programs.
Yeah, for sure.
Just again, 2 more cents to
Yeah.
just consider helping people understand the intent of it, right? Like, what's the problem statement? What are we solving for? Because I think that's the hook that will get people to actually engage and take the survey,
Mhm.
Right,
right?
I agree.
Yeah. But it's a great idea.
Touching on your splash pad comment, in the council meeting where we workshopped the long-term capital improvement planning, splash pad was brought up as a potential MCPP amenity to add. The master plan called for a big water slide, and they kind of nixed the water slide and thought maybe a splash pad would be more appropriate. And from staff's perspective, I'm all on board.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Splash pads are much lower maintenance and much less liability. So
Yeah.
that was music to my ears.
Yeah. Good to hear. Okay, any other questions for Jen?
Thank you,
Feedback?
guys.
Thank you, Jen. All right, item 9A, community outreach update.
Hello, hello. Long time no see. Hope everyone's doing well. I have a lot of updates for you guys, but I'm going to try and be really brief. First off, next month is National Park and Recreation Month.
All right.
Party, party. So we've kind of decided to break it down into daily celebrations. So Monday we're still workshopping this title. Meet Milton Monday, kind of introduce people to some prominent volunteers and people who do a lot of good work for our parks and the community. We'll be doing that on social media. Tuesdays will be Trail Tour Tuesdays, hosted by Jen. I think Emily Groth is also going to get in on the action.
Ranger Jen.
Ranger Jen. I'm so sorry. I know her name better than that. Wednesday, we're going to do Wellness Wednesday. We've reached out to some of our providers. Matthew's been talking with them to try and get them to do some outdoor wellness classes outside. Tai Chi, stretch class, something outside that gets people outdoors, probably after work hours. So you guys can pop in, bring the kiddos. Thursday is going to be Throwback Thursday, showing kind of before and afters of some of the big improvements we've done on the parks. And then Friday will be Flashback Friday. We're inviting people to submit their photos of things of them doing activities and whatnot in the parks and enjoying them with their families and everything. We'll also relaunch our Parks Passport, which has been super successful. We'll do an Introduce Our Team Day. We have a big JCPenney turtleneck photo shoot that we're trying to get scheduled. Tom is not on board, but we are working on it. So once we have more details, we'll make sure we send you guys that email, and if y'all don't mind sharing with your communities as well. Next up, of course, my computer likes to lock on me every 2 seconds. We have given a lot of life to our financial aid program. Within the last week alone, we have donated over $740 worth of financial aid to get kids involved in our programs. So it's big. We're trying to really give it some life. So that's a big update. As well as, if you can see the 2 lovely young people behind me, we have our interns who started 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. This is Raina, and this is Matt. And they're going to be working on a lot of various projects throughout the city. They're working on our Independence Day parade right now. They're working with Emily Groth on some public works projects. So you'll probably see them out and about helping us out. On the event space, previous events, we had Memorial Day on May 29th. It was great. The weather was freezing, which was really weird for May. But I think it was wildly successful. I think we estimated somewhere between 400 and 500 people were there. We ran out of chairs, which was a great problem to have. We also had our marriage run on June 3rd. We had 140 people register. So that was great. Hopefully it'll just continue to build momentum. Upcoming, we have our July 1st walking parade and celebration over at Broadwell Pavilion from 10 a.m. to 1, which our interns are doing a great job of planning. So we're very excited about that. And then we don't have another event until Saturday, September 9th, which is our Big Touch a Truck event. So lots of things in the community outreach space. Hope that was brief.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank
That's
you.
great.
Yeah.
Great update. Very short, precise, quick. Nice job.
I try.
Communication strategy on all those events, is that all going to be social media, email, and the like?
Yes, we also have, I'm going to have a meeting next week with our communications department to kind of brainstorm some new event marketing ideas. We always do our banners, we do our stick in the mud signs, we do social media, we publish it on the website. But what other tools could we use? Can we create more Instagram reels that really get people involved? Can we put more flyers out spaces? So we're gonna have a big brainstorm meeting next week to make sure that we're advertising them as best as possible.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 9B, upcoming park improvements.
Just a few things. Just want to kind of give you a little heads up on what you might be seeing throughout the parks. First, we have at the Broadwell Pavilion, those trees out front they're really old and big, and as they leaf out in the spring, the Bermuda starts getting shaded out. And so every year I've noticed in the spring, the grass looks okay, not great, but okay. And then as the summer goes on, the shade just beats it, and we have to cut it like 4 inches just to make it look green. So last year I put in the budget for this year to have the park resodded with some zoysia that's a little more shade tolerant. And we've got enough in there too. From that hard freeze in December, it damaged some of the bushes out there really bad. It looks like they're not totally dead, but just they're just sticks with a little bit of leaves here and there. So we're looking at replacing some of those bushes as well to just kind of freshen up the park. I think it's going to really pop a lot more with the new grass and the bushes replaced. Next is the tennis courts. It was touched on earlier, but the tennis courts are going to get pressure washed here. Terry was supposed to be out there today as well. He did all the furniture yesterday, and today he was going to start working on the tennis courts, see how far he can get. Getting enough hose out there for just a one-time thing was. I have one hose from my house. Purchased some property that had some hose laying in the back, so we grabbed some hose from there, and I think he's got enough now to get all the way to the back corner of Court 4, which is a lot longer of a stretch than you'd think when you're just 50 feet here, 100 feet there, 75 feet there from the building all the way down. It's a long way, but he should be set up for success now. Now it's just a matter of just doing a nice low pressure. There's an art to it, and so leave it to the tennis pro to get done right. The last thing is also at the Milton City Park and Preserve, is getting the renovation of the pump house done. The pool's pump house, it's in the back right corner. If you're looking at the pool, it was not included as part of the scope for the country club renovations. So it's still the brown shake material that the rest of the building was. And so I'm looking to renovate the outside, have it match the building with a board and batten look. And then inside the pump house, we store our chlorine tanks in there. And the chlorine vapors are very damaging to just about anything metal, and it rusts things out really quick. We had in the past some electrical issues that are now fixed, but I'm putting a couple walls in and a door, and we're going to have the chlorine tanks in their own room with their own ventilation system inside to try to preserve the rest of the building. So that work is slated to get done. It's going in front of council this upcoming Monday, along with the Broadwell Pavilion work on the landscaping. And the Broadwell Pavilion work will get done after the July 1st parade. And then the pool pump house we won't do any of that work until school's back in and our pool hours change to afternoon and evening only. And then if they'd like, they can go in and they can work in the mornings and early afternoons as long as they're cleaning up. And we should have that done in September.
Nice.
Excellent.
That's all I got.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Mhm.
Brings us to item 10, other business. Coming back to any volunteers for the Green Space Subcommittee. If not, if you are interested, email Tom.
We can go that route too. I can send an email out to the board
That'd be great.
and see if I can get a couple.
Yeah,
You can
that'd be
sleep, you
great.
can sleep on it. Before, I'm sure this would help. Before the email goes out, I will talk to Emily Groth and talk about what kind of frequency we're looking at.
And is it
That'd be good.
indefinitely or is it until a specific?
We're planning on having this wrapped up this year. And so the input from this committee would be done well before the whole thing's adopted. So
I'll volunteer. I volunteer as tribute. You're all welcome.
Thank you, Morgan.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding.
I will.
I feel like Jason's about to raise his hand. It's a feeling that I have.
I think
Could be wrong.
Scott feels like
Your
he's gonna raise
spidey
his
sense is
hand.
off right now.
Just taking a chance. All right, any other business? If not, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Jason,
I second.
second by Morgan. All approved? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Welcome aboard, folks.